Everybody, thanks for stopping by my channel. This is Sharon with Statuist by Sharon. Hey, listen, I just wanted to chat with you real quick because I was sitting here in my studio about to start on a new hat design. And I started thinking about the importance of not being slow to act upon the directions of God, to not drag our feet when God tells us to do something. If you're anything like me, a lot of times when God gives me a directive, I start thinking, "Wow, I can't do that, or I can't accomplish that, or that's too big of a project for me to handle." And then I realize that God does not intend on me handling it by myself. He gives us big directives because He wants us to trust Him to help us in the process of moving forward in that area, and to know that He is with us as we are moving forward. If we were able to do everything by ourselves, even at the direction of God, then on the other end of it, we'd be able to take credit for it and share God's glory. And you know as well as I do that God is not going to share His glory with another. When we come out on the other side of what God has told us to do, whether it was something grueling or something that, well, it wasn't that bad, but it was still difficult, and the weight of it was very heavy, and we knew we didn't do it by ourselves. God wants our testimony to be, "God helped me do it. God is the one who did it. I can't take any credit. All I did was just show up." And even in terms of showing up, God gave me the power and ability to just, be courageous enough to even show up and take a step forward in this that He told me to do. So when we come out on the other end of something, God wants our testimony to ultimately be, "God did it." And so when He gives us a directive to keep moving forward, even if it's something that, I don't want to do this anymore, I want to do something different. If God has not told you to do something different just yet, don't take it upon yourself to just change course, because either you believe that you are walking in the plans of God or not. Now, if your testimony is that you are charting your own course, then may God have mercy on you, and this video probably isn't for you. But for those of us who know that God is ordering our steps, sometimes we get tired of doing something that doesn't seem like it's fruitful or productive. It's not working out the way we want it to. And it's in those times that God has us doing that thing, not for the reasons why we think that we're doing it. God can have a whole different plan for something that we think is going over in this direction, and He might have it going way over there somewhere. And so it's a matter of trusting Him. Now, I was reminded of the story in the Bible, this account in the Bible where the children of Israel, remember, they had been freed from slavery in Egypt, and they were wandering around through the desert. God had promised them that He was going to bring them into a land of milk and honey, and great prosperity. And He had some spies from the Israeli camp go over into a bordering country to spy out the land, because in this land they had it was a land of giants, and they had huge clusters of grapes and all kinds of food, and everything was just plentiful, lush and luscious, but everything was so huge, and everything was so large that between 12 spies, it took all 12 of them to carry just one cluster of grapes. And when they came back, they were telling the rest of the camp about this land of giants. But 10 of the 12 spies start saying, "Well, they're so big, I don't think we can conquer them, and we look like grasshoppers in their sight." And that's what they said that they looked like. They don't know what the giants thought. The giants didn't even see them, and it doesn't matter how they appeared to anybody else, because God told them to do this. God told them to go spy out the land. Don't be afraid, I'll be with you. But what they did was they became afraid and just completely ignored the fact that God said, "I will be with you." So they ended up, convincing the rest of the camp that they can't do this, they can't make it. Now there were two of the spies who were like, wait a minute, God said he's going to be with us, we can do this, we can conquer them as long as we have God with us. Come on, let's go on and do it. Because I'm sure those two spies were tired of wandering around in the desert, and they wanted, to be in the land of milk and honey. They saw how lush everything was, and they were like, yeah, I want to live like this. But the other 10 spies were just messing it up for everybody. So finally, God had just had enough, and he was just, basically through with them. Like, I told you I'm going to be with you. You're not trusting me. So, all right, then just forget it. And you can just keep wandering around in the desert. And as a matter of fact, all of you who have complained about how afraid you are and how you're just being set up to be killed and by these giants, everybody who has something negative to say, none of you will enter into the promised land except for Joshua and Caleb, the two spies who trusted God and said, we can make it because God's going to be with us. They'll make it into the promised land, but none of you who've complained will make it in the promised land. Every last one of you are going to die out here in the desert, and no one who is older than 21 will ever see the promised land. So they had to wander around in the desert for, I think it was I forget how many years. They had to wander around out in the desert until the very last person who had complained about this land of giants, that God told them that he was going to deliver that into their hands. They had to wait until that very last person died before they could, move into the promise that God had for them. So when God told them that, okay, forget it, all bets are off, then you're never going to see the promised land. Do you know that the very next day, when everybody was getting together, everybody's waking up, and there were some of the people who had gotten together, they had all grouped together ready to go, and it was either Caleb or Joshua who said, what's going on? And they were like, oh, well, we're ready now, we're going to go. So I guess that later that previous night, they must have gotten together and said, now this is Sharon's version, okay? This is not written. I'm not trying to add to the Bible or detract from it, because I know we're not to do that, but I am free to use my imagination. And I'm imagining that previous night, they were probably like, man, we really messed up, I don't want to be out here in the desert anymore. And so, well, let's go on and go. God said that we can fight them, and he'll give us the land. And so instead of saying that they're gonna destroy us, let's go on and trust God after all, and go on and take the land. Because if y'all could have seen what we saw, what the spies saw, and man, if we could live like that, so let's go on and do it. Well, the next morning, when Caleb and Joshua saw them ready to go, Caleb and Joshua said, no, it's too late. Y'all got yourself all ready and raring to go now. You should have done this yesterday. When we showed you that cluster of grapes, you should have been brave and courageous, knowing that God was going to be with us yesterday. It's too late now. So all this being battle ready and all this, no, you can go on and put away your preparations, because God said what he said. Every last one of y'all is going to die out here in the desert for complaining and doubting the power and presence of God. So I want to remind myself, and I want to remind you, that when God gives you a directive, don't be slow to be obedient. When God gives you a directive, know that he's going to be with you, and do not just tell him, well, I can't do that and I'll fail, and they're more powerful than me and there's too many of them. Because if God is telling you to do something, he's expecting you to trust him to be with you in accomplishing that thing. So don't fool around like the children of Israel did, and wait until it's too late, even if it's the next day, and figure, oh, well, okay, I told God no yesterday, but now let me go on and get myself together because I've had time to think about it, so I'll go on and go. Well, it might be too late by then. So just be certain that you are hearing from God, and that you, now I'm not saying make a rash, decision and rush into anything, but get to know the voice of the Lord, and build a relationship with Him. God doesn't mind us saying, Lord, I'm kind of scared about doing this, or I'm not sure, because He wants that dialogue. But be open to His dialogue when He tells you, go on and go anyway, because there's some things that God wants us to do even if we are afraid, because that just makes the testimony even greater, that I was scared to do this, but I went on and did it, trusting God along the way, and things worked out for me, and to God be the glory. That's to be your testimony, and that's to be my testimony, but we've got to be obedient in following the directive of God and not missing our opportunity. Okay, so let's be focused on hearing what God is telling us to do. Even if it's something that He wants us to continue doing, that we're kind of tired of doing, or we want to do something different. If God hasn't told you to do something different, don't change course. If He tells you to do something different and you're kind of comfortable doing what you've been doing, be quick to do what God tells you to do and change course. So whatever it is, to do something different or not do something different, if God is telling you to do something or not to do something, make sure that you are obedient to that, because you don't know the size of the opportunity that He has for you on the other side, and the opportunity to give Him praise yet again, to tell people how God is the one who brought you through. How are you able to do this? Look, all I can say is God did it. That is what your testimony shall be. All right. So let's be mindful of being obedient to God and being quick to not pass up an opportunity that He gives us, regardless of how overwhelming it may be, because God is always with you. He's always with me. So again, this is Sharon with Statuesque by Sharon. I hope that was helpful, encourage somebody tonight. And until we meet again, God bless you. I love y'all. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.